Season 10 is finally on the horizon and will be released halfway through October. This week Rare showed us more of its content and the player base seems pretty mixed on this season. New discussions are being held all over the internet and old discussions are heating up again. Just like Flame Art, I just want to see the seas burn, so I will do my best to add some more firebombs to this already raging fire. And let's start with the main feature of Season 10, guilds. Players can start their own guild, name it and design their own banner. Guilds will allow up to 24 pirates to unite and guild members can sail on their friends' pledged ships even when they're offline. Guild members will work towards increasing the shared guild reputation to unlock new rewards. And if this seems like a new progression system that doesn't affect how players actually play the game, you are probably right. And the only real feature outside a bunch of new menus is the ability to sail on the ships of your friends. And I don't really care about that. Don't get me wrong, I do love sailing on other people's ships, see how they decorate them and what cosmetics and ship names they come up with, but if I can choose which ship I want to sail with, mine or any other ship, I always want to sail on my own. But yeah, I'm sure some role players will absolutely love this feature, but I'm not convinced yet. Still, we get some new rewards, but we won't really be doing anything new to earn them. In this way, it's very similar to the milestone system, only slightly worse. Something that would save this update, but it's not gonna happen, would have been the addition of your own guild island, where your guild can display all the victories and rewards they have earned, but that's probably not happening. I mean, that would actually be cool. So yeah, the silver lining of guilds is that it won't make the game any less. But it's just not the update the game needs right now. People are craving for new stories, the expansion of trading companies like the Hunter's Call, new threats on the seas, and of course, the return of Flameheart. I mean, that is still happening, right? So yeah, I'm not hating on guilds, but it just doesn't seem like the update we needed after waiting so long. I guess it's fun to feel some more camaraderie with your crew, but in practice it probably won't change the gameplay all that much. Something that does add new gameplay is a new Voyage. And I absolutely love the idea of this Voyage. Instead of just voting for it at the start of your session, this hunt for the skull of Siren Song will randomly appear on the mast of all ships on a server. If you accept this Voyage, you are hunting down both a key and a chest. The catch is that you are not the only one hunting for these items, and once dug up, the entire server will know their locations. And I do like the random factor of this Voyage, since players will want to race to these locations without dropping off their loot first. Which obviously means you might get even more rewards instead of just clearing out the competition. And if you do manage to collect the skull, the race isn't over yet, since this skull needs to be delivered to a specific outpost and it will curse your ship, making it sail slower. This can be great for PvP, but it might still end up being annoying when there is no one around and you are sailing towards the outpost at a snail's pace. But time will tell how annoying this will be. Some other cool aspects to this Voyage is that you can use the skull as a weapon, and Briggsy's ghost will provide players with some new story elements. What these are, we don't know yet, but at this moment I take any lore developments. And the final thing I want to praise about this Voyage is that you can't force it. And in that way it's very much like any other world event. Instead of something to grind out, it becomes an exciting moment in your current play session. I mean, maybe you can still grind these out, but having this Voyage randomly appear is just great design in my opinion. But now for the real controversy, the PVE servers. The most requested feature by new players and also the feature that Rare promised would never make it to Sea of Thieves. Yet here we are. So first of all, I have always been an advocate of never introducing PVE servers. The thought made me seasick. Sea of Thieves is unique in a way that it combines both PvE and PvP, and that you never know if that ship on the horizon is a friend or foe. Having a PVE server removes the thrill of always being on your guard, and that's a big element what makes this game so unique. But having said that, how much fun is it to sink a ship only to discover they have 2 chests and a trinket? Or knowing that new players can't fall in love with Sea of Thieves because the skill gap is too big when they start out. And I really don't like the get good discussions, since Sea of Thieves does offer more than just PvP. Granted, it was different when I started, because PvP was the main appeal in the early days. Every ship was a ship to fight, and skull forts always guaranteed giant battles with pretty much the entire server. And everyone was, hopefully, developing their skills at roughly the same pace. But the seas have changed, and Sea of Thieves just offers more these days. Of course, it still needs crews to interact with each other, both in a friendly and not so friendly way. To me, that's still a core part of the game that must be guaranteed. But on the other hand, you want to keep your player base growing and make sure that when PvP does happen, ships should be carrying some sizable loot to steal. Having a server where players can get familiar with the game, the world events, and learning some tricks and strategies seems to benefit both sides, while also making sure your player base keeps growing. And when the player base grows, it means Rare can keep updating the game. However, just having PVE servers is a bad idea, since this will obviously split the player base. So some restrictions were needed, and I think they handled it perfectly. Having a level cap of 40 on the trading companies is great, since it prevents players from getting to Pirate Legend. And to new players, this is their first major goal to achieve. And they will have plenty of time to absolutely get addicted to Sea of Thieves before trying the high seas, which they probably will. Think of it this way. All those players that would quit after 2 weeks because they kept getting sunk by better players won't quit anymore. And eventually they will enter the higher seas to get those sweet rewards. And this also benefits the older players, since those new entries will be a bit more confident and experienced. Less sailing away and more loot on their ships. They will probably still sink easily, but not as quickly, and they won't quit the game. Another complaint I heard about Safer Seas is that players will use it to grind accommodations. And yes, I do see that happening, but personally I really don't care if you grind out your 250 merchant voyages on a PvE server. At a 70% gold reduction, that grind is hardly worth switching over for me anyways. And the accommodations where you need to steal loot or interact with other crews are locked, as is the Chest of Fortune, all Pirate Legend accommodations and all Reaper accommodations. So players can unlock some rewards, but not the one that people flex with. And let's be fair, flexing is all that matters. And even if players won't switch over, they will still become part of our community. And we need a big community so the game can continue to grow. And these will not only consist of low skill players, but also families, players that just want to relax, or players that can't flourish in a PvP setting because of a disability. As for me personally, I don't see myself using these servers all that much. You can't earn milestones, and that 30% gold reward is not really worth it considering the skill level of me and my crew. And for new players, I thought 30% gold and reputation was a bit too high at first, but I guess you need to give those new pirates some sense of progression, and I think it doesn't take that much extra confidence to eventually want to try to go for the full 100% on the higher seas. I also see less people going onto PVE servers, and I am not talking about Safer Seas, but the giant Alliance PVE servers. If you are not familiar with these, it's basically a takeover of all ships by a group of people that then keeps the server alive by always finding new occupants for those vacant spots. This practice is disgusting, and I don't think this will ever disappear without intervention from Rare, but at least these servers will probably see a decrease in use, which is certainly a good thing. So yeah, in conclusion, Season 10 still seems a bit lackluster. Aside from the new Voyage, it doesn't really offer us older sea dogs anything exciting. And if guilds excite you, that's great, but I'm not convinced yet. On its own, it's a fine addition, but it's not the update the game needs right now. I think it would have been fine to release this alongside Captaincy, but as its own thing, it can't carry a season and it doesn't offer anything new in terms of gameplay. Still, it's better to get guilds now instead of in season 15 or something. The new Voyage does excite me, and I can't wait to vote for it whenever I see that piece of paper on the mast. As for the PVE servers, I probably won't use them at all, but I think the restrictions are actually great to eventually push people to the higher seas. Hopefully this will result in a more healthy and growing player base, something that benefits us all. But all things combined, it doesn't really justify the wait for Season 10, and that's a bit of a bummer. Some might even say this is worrying, but I'm still too optimistic to use that type of language. But if you have a different opinion, that's fine, and I'm sure mine will change a bit when we do get to experience these changes. But let me know what you think. Just like always, I do read all the comments. It's like the best reward of releasing a new video. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.